Look, we're apolitical. Politics invariably divides, and I don't want to serve just one half of Main Street. We serve all of Main Street, i.e. those on both sides of the party divide. I'm not here to talk about who should or shouldn't have been elected. The fact is that today, Trump is in the White House for the next 4 years or more. And the question is, what can we realistically expect? First of all, by the way, I would just come back to this point. The people have spoken very clearly. The status quo isn't working. But I'm actually quite worried. And by the way, I'm not saying that things would have looked any more promising if other people had been elected instead. Within days, Trump had reached out to the CEO of one of Wall Street's most reckless, notorious banks to see if he would become the next Secretary of the US Treasury. And he's now got 3 ex-Goldman Sachs bankers appointed. These people really don't give a damn about leaving Main Street behind. Just read John Kay's book, Other People's Money, to understand more about this. First, regarding taxes, the Financial Times, which is about as communist as the Wall Street Journal, and a former Goldman Sachs head economist pointed out that Trump's tax cuts are by and large aimed at the upper end of the income scale. They'll get a 14% tax cut, and everyone else will get less than a 2% tax cut. Other Wall Street economists have generally agreed. As respected economist Paul Ashworth at Capital Economics wrote, most of the stimulus will come in the form of tax cuts for high-income earners and lower corporate tax rates. We suspect that the infrastructure spending boost will turn out to be much lower than the estimates currently being thrown around. Secondly, when it comes to stopping cheap overseas imports to protect American manufacturing workers, just last week, one of the most powerful Wall Street investment firms on the planet, AB Global, pointed out that if Trump does raise the cost of cheap foreign goods by raising tariffs, that will put significant pressure on the bottom line of American companies because as huge multinationals operating globally, a third of all imports coming into the US are actually from the foreign branches of American companies. And Trump definitely is not anti-business, nor anti the bottom line. Also, a member of Trump's own Economic Advisory Council, Anthony Scaramucci, a hedge fund guy, wrote a really telling and bizarre piece in the Financial Times recently. The piece was subtitled, "We Can Close the Wealth Gap." But nowhere did he show that he actually has a basic understanding of what the wealth gap and economic inequality actually are about. It is not an issue of a lack of economic growth. There has actually been very decent economic growth since the early 1980s through to 2008. It's an issue that this very economic growth is not being shared with those American workers who played a key part in generating it, and almost all of the gains going to the CEO and those at the top. Re the carrier example, President Scott Paul of the Alliance for American Manufacturing pointed out that there have been 1,600 cases in the last year alone of companies offshoring jobs. It will be impossible for the Trump administration to intervene in all of these. And then there's his Labour Secretary pick, Andrew Puzder. All I can say is, have a look at his track record in terms of how he has treated his own workers and the New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman's statement about his nomination. I hope and I pray that these worries are needless, but we obviously need to have a backup plan in case Trump doesn't or can't fix economic inequality. And even if he does, the bother then is that in 4 years he may be gone. And so we need a longer-term solution that can't be thrown overboard every 4 years.